Welcome to Real Connection. I'm James Walsh, and my guest this week is an amazing woman. She's an astrologer, spiritual guide, an artist, and author. Her online community, Enter Satoria, is a safe space where people can continue to expand their consciousness with like-minded people and will often feature special guest speakers. All the links will be found in the description below. So, welcome, Christina Martine. Um, you've been on a spiritual journey for quite a while. You told me that you read Eckhart Tolle for the first time, the Power of Now, when you were 17, and that was a big turning point for you, I guess you could say, in your spiritual journey. Would you like to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. Do you want the full story?
Sure, whatever you feel, whatever you
Okay.
feel like.
Okay. So basically, I grew up in a very chaotic household. I went through a lot of abuse on a lot of different levels: physical, emotional, mental, spiritual. Of course, I was living in the first world, so, it wasn't all that bad.
Yeah.
But it was still very intense for me to have people fighting around me. My parents fought a lot. I was a very empathic and sensitive being when I was a little kid, and now I still am, but I've learned how to navigate a lot better. And when people would fight around me when I was a child, I would think that there was something wrong with me because I would take on their pain.
Hmm.
And so this continued on for a really long time, and it just got so bad that I turned to different things to cope. I turned to eating disorders, and I became very obsessive compulsive, obsessive thoughts all the time, really negative ones about my image and just horrible things, that a lot of young girls are go through now. And what else? Eventually, I turned to suicide, like I wanted to kill myself, and I even made an attempt around when I was 17. And I did not die, thankfully. And
Thankfully.
then the next day, yeah, the next day I fell to my knees and I heard this voice, and I realized now that it was the voice of my higher self. That's the way I like to put
Hmm.
it. And basically it said to me, Christina, if you kill yourself, you're just gonna have to come back to Earth, and you like, you're meant to be here. Like, there's a purpose for you being here. And I was like, okay, well, what is that purpose? And I spent a long time trying to figure that out. And eventually I realized that I had to go through the pain I went through with my family, and just with some really harsh vibrations, harsh abuse. And through that pain, it basically spurred me into my awakening, into a greater remembrance of who I was. And now I'm doing all this healing work, and basically every healer has to go through his or her own healing journey, right? It's just always what has to happen. I had to see a lot of darkness in order to appreciate the good. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm here for a reason, and this is happening to me because it's here to help me. I came to that understanding, but it was a gradual process. And what really helped me was meditation. And Eckhart Tolle's book, of course, that was a major catalyst for my awakening. I started to realize that my thoughts were just thoughts, and I didn't have to listen to them like they were these almighty gods I had to obey. I started to realize that thoughts sometimes weren't even mine, thoughts weren't even true, and I could reprogram myself and reprogram my brain. So I started to play with this, and I found that we could go into our subconscious. We could enter into a really deep state of consciousness, the theta state, for example, and reprogram our memories and heal our inner world, and that would affect our outer world. So it was a really gradual process, and it took a lot of effort to learn that there's much more power in surrender. But I'm so thankful that I just continued on my journey, and I'm even thankful for everything that happened to me, because it's made me who I am today, and it's helped me, made me so confident in the healing work that I'm doing today.
That's really awesome. I mean, I had a similar experience with a friend of mine gave me one of Eckart's books It wasn't The Power of Now, but I have read that since. It was A New Earth, and I had the same realization that, we're constantly chasing our thoughts and, following them, and the reality is that they're just thoughts. They don't define who we are. So I think it's great that you got to that stage, and that you got through all the rough times, because that is a challenge. We're in this physical world where we have to put up with all these things, and it's not easy all the time. But it is great that you got through there. I had a question as well about, I notice in a lot of your artwork, art is obviously extremely important to you, and that's evident from the artwork that you've done. A lot seems to have, there's a lot of little mushrooms jumping around, and that's obviously, it's cool, but it's obviously an important part for you, as like psilocybin and magic mushrooms, just to I don't know how you incorporate that into your enlightenment, but if you want to speak a little bit about that, that'd be great.
Yeah, I guess so. So I believe that plant medicine can be a very useful tool. Maybe not for everybody,
Hmm.
but I mean, I think a lot of people now are abusing even cannabis, for example. They're just using it and watching
Yeah.
TV, and they don't realize that it's there to be a medicine. Like we have these natural cannabinoid receptors
Absolutely.
and cannabis can be so helpful for the body. And if people are worried about the THC, the effects, like for example, if someone is dealing with a mental disorder like schizophrenia or something, you wouldn't want it to have the THC, but there are CBD pills now. There are like a whole variety of products out there that are so helpful for the human brain. So I personally believe that these are tools to help us learn more about our own consciousness, and they can be used medicinally. They can be used in a very shamanic way to help us explore our inner worlds and heal from trauma, heal our brains. So yeah, I use them. I don't use them all the time. I use them very specifically, and I set an intention before I use these tools. And I recognize that there's an energy in the plants, and I kind of treat them like a spirit, and I talk to the spirit of the plant, and I talk to them like they're a teacher, because when you do ingest these things, they do speak to you. There's a spirit inside of them. Does that is that how you feel at all?
Yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree. I mean, um, I have used mushrooms before, but I haven't necessarily done it since I've started becoming more spiritually inclined. So I I would like to try mushrooms again, but I've recently did ayahuasca, and I had an amazing experience with that, and I totally agree that you have to give the plants the respect they deserve, and speak to the spirit of the plant, like you say. Um, I had three days in a row. We did the ayahuasca, and it was unbelievable. But like you said, it's not for everyone. There was someone else there who didn't get anything, but also didn't stick to the diet strictly. So um, that would explain that. On the whole
Mm.
cannabis thing, there's a really good documentary series called Sacred Plant about cannabis, and it's, the multitude of benefits from it, for, from Parkinson's to, cancer, everything, depression. It's so versatile. I mean, it can really help people. Um, but like you said, a lot of people don't use these things the right way. But they are here for us to, you know, they're here to help us. So if we use them with the right intention, then they can definitely be beneficial. Um, your your art is very important to you, obviously. I mean, I looked at, so many of your paintings, and I was like, wow, they're unbelievable. But um, I think a big struggle for people is, certainly for me, when I started moving away from kind of wanting to be stuck in a 9 to 5 job, or just grinding out every day just for a couple of dollars here and there. But what I started trying to figure out is, how can I do something important and give back, and be of service to others. and still do the things that I love to do. And I know you have a video about how you tried to do that with your art, and you sell your art now, which is awesome, and you should be doing it because it's amazing. Do you want to talk a little bit about how you've tried to balance that, try and find a way of working your higher purpose into living day to day? I mean, we still, unfortunately, money is something we all have to deal with right now. And it's not an evil thing. The system might be the best system, but it's still, for the time being, something we have to deal with. And it's something that money can be really positive if you use it in the right way. So, I mean, if you could speak a little bit about finding that balance, I'm sure there's a lot of listeners who would be really interested in that.
Yeah, it was a long struggle for me because I grew up with a lot of horrible ideas about money. I really thought it was this evil thing. So I had to get over that. I had to align with it and realize that I can do more with money. I can help more people if I have more money. If I'm happy and I'm feeding myself well, I can obviously help more people. So I had to really get over that and really question my beliefs about money and see that they were just coming from people who were victims of their own conditioning. And it really can be that easy. So I guess we all have a purpose. That's my belief anyway. We all have, well, we choose our purpose, but we all come here with these unique gifts. And that's why I love astrology, just because we get to see where we have natural talents and things we are working on from previous lifetimes, and what we came here to do, like our mission on an earthly level, our mission on a soul level. So that's been really helpful for me. It's really empowered me and given me a lot of confidence to continue to do the work that I'm doing. So I think people maybe don't always realize that they're not, they don't really have to do anything to find their completion. I think we've been so programmed in this society to feel like we have to do all of these things, we have to achieve all of these things to feel complete or whole, and that's just not true. I feel like we are already whole, complete beings, and we come to Earth as these complete beings with our unique gifts to share and offer other people. And if we can get in touch with that place, and meditation obviously really helps with that, and just dwell in that, the completion that we are, the pure love that we are, and ask ourselves, who am I and why did I come here? What did I come here to express? We'll see that we all have these beautiful gifts that we were born with, and we don't really have to struggle so much to find our purpose or find our gifts. And so I spent a long time in meditation asking myself, like, why did I come here? And how can I help people? So I believe that our gifts are given to us by God or by the Creator because we're meant to share and help people and spread our light here. So if you can ask yourself those questions, who am I? Why did I come here? What are my gifts? And how can they benefit the whole? Money is going to come, happiness is going to come, a job will just arise out of it, and everything will just start to fall into place, especially if you're focusing on what you can give rather than what you can get from other people. And I find that about money as well. If you just view money as like an energy, as a currency, like currency is like a current of energy, yeah. So basically, if you are full of love and you're doing what you love and you're offering that to the world and you're giving your light back to the world, people are naturally going to be excited about that and give you money. Like, it's all about an exchange and a constant flow of energy. So if you're hoarding or, being greedy or being lazy and not offering your gifts to the world, that's where people get stuck in this victim mentality and go, I don't like money, I can't make money. It's usually because they're just being lazy, or they're not offering their gifts. They're not offering what God wants them to, because maybe they're afraid or something like that. So you have to get over the fear. You really have to push past the fear, and it may be strange to do what God wants you to do. Like, I know that even though I'm pretty good at speaking, like, I was really scared to start making my videos. I would shake on my YouTube videos, and I would be scared talking to clients, but I knew that that's what I came here to do. So I just kept doing it. And then things arise and you just grow, and then the money just comes.
That's great. That's perfect. I mean, I totally agree with you there. It's it's really, we're all here. We all have a higher purpose. We all came here for a specific reason, whatever it is. But you definitely, everything everything will be there for you when you need it, if you have the right intention and you're moving in the right direction, you know. And there's definitely the fear. There's definitely, you know, all these resistance that you get. What will people think? Who am I to start, speaking about these different things? Or why would anyone want to listen to me? But at the end of the day, I believe that we're all equal. We all have the same potential to achieve greatness, or to, help people, or do whatever way you channel it. You can make some amazing things happen. You just have to power through the resistance, and not let it take over, and not let it prevent you from stepping into your glory, I suppose, if you want to call it that. But I mean, you've done so much. You've taken those steps, and I guess you're leading the way. There's a lot of people now with this spirituality and all this sort of thing, and your higher self. I'm sure you had to put up with a lot of people going, "Oh, that's all woo woo nonsense," and a lot of people need to, I guess, meditate. Meditation is great for getting in touch with something higher, not on this earthly plane that we have to deal with. But society, I guess, kind of forces people to get into a job, don't work hard all day, come home, be tired, get up, do it again. And so a lot of people, they never, even though they're not happy and they know that something isn't right, they never take the time to explore it too much. I guess they haven't been pushed out of their, like you said, you had to deal with a lot of things when you were younger, and you were kind of forced into this. You you wanted out, and it was either that or listen to your higher self, which said you're here for a reason. So, get through this and tough it out, and you'll be good. But I mean, people, for me anyway, people as a general rule, they're kind of closed off to the possibilities. And but now more than ever, I think people are starting to realize. I think technology helps as well as spreading the message. And there's a lot of people like yourself on YouTube, and you have your website, and it's ChristinaMartine.com if people are want to go and check it out and see all the amazing stuff you have on there. But also to get out and put that information out there, because a lot of times it's not easy for people. They're going to have to face criticism from everyone. I mean, even family, they don't understand it fully, or friends, they're not quite with it yet. So there can be a resistance for people, but my advice to them would just be follow your steps, meditate, get in touch with what your higher purpose is, and not worry too much about what other people do. This lifetime is short, and it's certainly not the end of our journey. It's just a little bit of it. So if I was to ask you what advice you would give to people, as far as what they can do, I know you think meditation obviously is an important one. Are there any other things that people can do to try and make space for this in their life? Whether it's yoga, meditation, things like that. What are your routines that you like to do?
I think first of all, I think people should just stop taking things so personally, and realize that everyone's on their own journey and clearing their own karma. And when we judge others or compare others, or just stay in that fear mentality, it's not helping anybody, and it's definitely not helping you. So just try to remember that. and recognize that the media is programming us in a very awful satanic way. And by satanic, I mean that they're pushing this deception of everyone is separate, you're not a godly being, you are a physical being, and you need to buy things to make yourself more whole. And I could go on and on about the programming of the media. It's
Yeah.
awful, obviously. So just take that with a grain of salt, and just, don't watch the news. If you're going to watch big name music videos, just recognize that they don't always have positive messages in them. And just for example, like the way women are presented as these like objects, or it's just not good. Like the whole idea of masculine and feminine has been so skewed, it's confusing so many people, when in reality they're these energies, like the masculine energy and the female energy are these energies. But now people are going, okay, well, I want to be feminine, and instead of going inward and going, well, what is that feminine energy? That is a soft and creative energy. It's an internalized energy. They're going, oh, well, I guess I better
Yeah.
make myself look like a Barbie or something. And that's not reality. That's what society has created. And it's just really confusing a lot of people. And, maybe people will get angry at me for saying that, but I do feel it's being pushed by the media.
No. Yeah. I completely agree. Completely agree. Um, yeah, definitely. I know I have a friend who is starting a podcast that's based around masculinity and um, how it's being portrayed. You have to be this big tough guy all the time, and you have to have the biggest car, the biggest house, and all these kind of things, and you're pushed. You, it's like they push everyone into these little boxes. Everyone has their own little pigeonhole that they go into, and for girls you have to look like these photoshopped, airbrushed images you see in magazines, and it's very confusing for people. It's hard, like it's really puts a lot of pressure and stress on people to live up to these images, and when the reality is that they're not trying to find happiness outside of yourself in material things, or in your anything that you anything that's based around the ego. It's going to lead to suffering and pain. And I think eventually when you have dealt with enough of that, then you start to look inside yourself for answers, which is the only place that you're ever going to find happiness. um, when you realize that everything is connected, we're all one. um, it's just like a big chain, you're just a link in a chain of events that happen, and everything's connected. And it's up, the good thing is you have free will, and you have the choice. You can try and be of service to others, or you can just serve yourself. That's entirely up to each individual, but um, the opportunity is there for everyone once they realize that.
Yeah, I think that's really important. What you said about service to self or service to others. When we're in unconsciousness, when we're still coming from the ego, we want to feed ourselves because we believe we're these separate beings, like the media pushes, right?
Hmm.
But in actuality, in the bigger picture, we're all connected. And even if you spend a little bit of time in meditation, just for the audience, you start to realize that maybe you're not your thoughts, maybe you're not your body, maybe you're not your passing emotions or whatever you're dealing with. If you have a mental disorder, maybe you're not your clothes, maybe you're not your job. So what are you? You're this energy that's having a human experience. You're a godly force that's having a human experience. And so I think if we can return to that perspective and realize that we're all one, that the separation is an illusion, then we just start to judge others less, we take things less personally, and we're able to send love to everybody. We're able to see that everything that's happening to us is happening to us to benefit us, even the bad stuff. So that's been one of my biggest lessons, to
Hmm.
send love anyway to my enemies or to bad situations or to my past. And I've seen that it's all here to help me, help the whole.
Yeah, I totally agree. This what you said there about sending love to your enemies, and for me, even what you were speaking about with the media and everything they do, they do it to keep the masses separated and not realize that they have this, um, that they're part of something bigger, and that they have this potential. So we're kept kind of isolated. But I think what you were saying, it's important that it's really important that you can have love even for those people that are doing that and that are manipulating things to suit themselves. Because I mean, if we all come from this one infinite creator, and we're all a part of this one infinite creator, then that means that they're part of it as well. And that can be a difficult concept for a lot of people, because you have to accept that even if somebody did something that to wrong you, or to that made you sad and hurt you, that person is still part of the same creator that you're part of, and that we're all part of. So to be able to have love for them, even though they're not necessarily doing what's best for the whole, they're more looking out for themselves. But if you can have that love for them the same way you have love for someone who's an amazing person and they're helping you out, if you can have that for everyone and everything, then you're going to have peace and you're going to be happy, and it just leads to a much more enjoyable experience in this particular existence that we've come into. So I think that's really important for people to take note of that. And it can be difficult, really difficult. I've seen people really struggle with it, but the happiness is not going to come from something bad happening to them to make you feel better. It has to come from you accepting and releasing any resistance you have to it. And just once you can accept everything, you should, it'll change your life for the better.
Yeah, I think it's really useful to imagine that life is like a video game, and your higher self is the real you, and you're just kind of controlling an avatar, or like a game piece on a board game or something.
Yeah.
And some people have chosen to be these like light warriors, and other people have chosen to be bad guys with guns, and it's all just this like funny drama that we're acting out. And if we can take a step out of the game for a second and kind of look at it from a higher perspective, we can just see that we're playing these roles, and some people are just getting a little bit too attached to their egos, and that's why they're hurting other people. They're unconscious. They're like little children, and they haven't woken up to the greater picture. So that's the only reason why they're hurting others, or staying in this service to self mentality. So I think it's important also to treat your enemies like they're children, to treat criminals like their children, and to just send them the highest love, because they're the ones who need it the most, because they're the ones who are suffering the most.
Yeah, that's a really cool way of looking at it, that it's a computer game and we've chosen all these different characters. Do you think then that any character in this game is capable of change? I mean, do you think that you take the worst person and that they have the ability to switch from the role they've put themselves into, maybe figuring out what their higher purpose is and following that role?
Yeah, I mean, I think we have free will here. I think we don't have control over everything. I mean, even the planets and the stars and things are presenting us with energy, but it's up to us what we do with what we're given. It's up to us what we do with the gifts we've been given. We can choose where to place our attention. We can choose what to think. We can choose what to focus on. And we can get up every day and choose to meditate and say, I love myself. I forgive myself, and I forgive others. And that practice in itself, that forgiveness practice, heals everything. And I think that's one of the major things that will help everybody on this planet, if they just let go of the past and let go of this anything that's happened. I see people even nowadays in the media, like people talk about the Holocaust all the time in the movies. It's like, get over it. It's over. Just get over it. It's like this perpetual thing. And, you know, there's always like this enemy, like, okay, before it was the Nazis, now it's the Muslims, and now it's like some aliens that are going to come down and get us. And it's like, there's always this whole programming, and we just have to not attach to any of that and just realize that we're these beautiful divine beings, and we have the power to send ourselves the highest love and send that to other people, and we will create change. So yeah, I think we can heal from anything and become empowered people, even if you've been through the hardest things.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I feel like there's always there's always a reason for everything that happens to us, and whether it's hard or easy. If it's easy, there's not so much growth. I think you need to have. I mean, it's the same for anything really in business or in life. If you make a mistake, you're either gonna say, "Oh, that's it, I'm done with this," or you know, if something's not going well, you can give up, or else you can say, "Okay, what can I do better, or what am I not doing right? Why is this situation the way it is?" And if you look inside yourself and ask these questions and look for answers from your higher self, or even going on YouTube and looking at videos from, you know, Eckhart Tolle or yourself, you know, there's an ocean of people out there that are trying to get this message across to people, and it's up to everyone themselves to say, okay, I'm done with this now, and I'm ready for something else, ready for something bigger, something better, and I want to make a change, a positive change in the world. I notice you use with words. It's almost like, say, for disease, you'd call it dis-ease, and
Hmm.
which I think is really important. That's a really, it's a strong it's a strong message, because I think it really is just an imbalance in your internal, like your vibration. If it's off, you're gonna end up, you know, if you're harboring um, some ill feelings towards somebody who did something. It's like you said, forgiveness is so important, and self-love and loving for everyone and everything. If you can do that, you remove all this dis-ease from your being, and then you end up disease free, and you don't have these issues that drag you back. Um, that's something that maybe you should speak about.
So I believe that there aren't really any accidents, or we don't really just get sick all of a sudden, right? That's the old way of viewing things. Maybe in the Western
Mhm.
world. I mean, in the East, we've known about how illnesses have risen for a long, long time. And I'm sure
Yeah.
even in the Western world, we knew before too, before we lost a lot of information about our real history. But I I've come to understand just through meditation and through my qigong practice and energy healing, Reiki, and everything, that we can go into our body and work with our inner energy, work with the elements within us, and heal certain blockages. So, like you were saying, if you're harboring a lot of hate or guilt or shame or anger towards someone, that will get sorry, that will get stuck in an organ potentially. Like anger is associated with the liver, fear is associated with the kidneys, shame is associated with the lungs, and so you can target where you're harboring this anger, where you have these blockages within you. Sometimes we have blockages within major energetic channels. So I know a lot of people know about the chakras, but there's a whole network of energy all over your body. So when you find out where you're harboring this hatred, or you have an energy blockage, you can actually go to it and release it, and find use safe techniques to release it. So you can chant, you can do energy healing, you can use sound therapy, you can use crystals. And this isn't some woo woo like thing that's not real. This is a very real force. This is a very real thing. And if you start to explore it, even just asking yourself, like, how am I feeling? And if you're feeling fear, ask yourself, like, where is this fear? Where is it coming from? And just going very deeply into your body to talk to it and heal it. And basically, you can also use like color therapy. Certain colors are associated with certain organs. You can kind of look at your body like an instrument. And if it's out of tune, it's not going to play right, right? And so
Hmm.
the whole orchestra is going to be messed up. So the people you interact with, it's not going to really go well. So your outer reality is not going to be so coherent. So if you tune yourself properly with meditation and sound and whatever you need to do, forgiveness to remove these blockages, then your outer reality is going to be so much more peaceful. I really do believe that your outer reality it's kind of like a projection of what's going on inside of you. So if you're a happy, loving person, usually people treat you better. You emit this beautiful, powerful frequency. People feel that coming off your heart, and people interact with you better. People view you as a more beautiful being, not because you're more physically attractive, even though that it is a side effect usually of this kind of stuff, but because you feel like such a good person. You've been doing that deeper work.
Yeah, you're putting it out there for everyone to. It's like an energy. It's like if somebody that's miserable walks into a room, instantly everyone's like, oh. But if somebody that has that positive, happy, go lucky, they're just you couldn't say anything to take that away from them, and it's contagious, that good energy. It You mentioned about your body being like has all these network of different um I guess
Channels, yeah, like
energy
channels you can call
flows
them,
and
or
channels.
chakras.
Um, yeah, would you use EFT, like the tapping? Do you ever use that? Do you think that that's
I've looked into it, and that's a really good modality as well. Yeah.
yeah? Because I think they work on. I don't want to go. I think I think they call them
The meridians,
meridians.
yeah, the
Yeah,
meridians, the
yeah,
channels, yeah, yeah.
and I know they use it for post traumatic stress disorder. I know a lot of veterans coming back. They've been taught how to use tapping to try and um, just get them back, just to take away that fear and that stress and the anxiety of being out in public, and that can be difficult for them. So I definitely think that there's so many different ways to try and bring yourself into a balanced whole sort of being. And I think as well, a lot of people, I know for me, when I got into this spiritual journey, I was always I was always into you know being active and going to the gym and being physically fit. But then I kind of fell away from that a little bit because I was focused so much on the spiritual side of things. And I think finding a balance is it can be difficult because a lot of people, once they realize there's more, they tend to want to be away. They tend to want to be, you know, in that higher state, and then when they come back to
Hmm.
this reality, they don't want to be. They're not as comfortable here on Earth, or in this physical. They struggle with that, which is, I think
Hmm.
that's a big thing, and maybe you can advise the listeners on the best ways to try and find a balance in your mind and body and your spirit. So,
Yeah. Well, I went through a similar thing. I was practicing meditation and I
mhm,
wanted to open my third eye and I wanted to have these amazing spiritual experiences. I wanted to recreate them all the time. And that is a very unbalanced way to go about your spiritual journey or your energetic awakening. Just because if you focus on your higher chakras alone, without going and clearing your root chakra and getting a strong foundation, you're not going to really be able to open up your abilities fully, and it might be actually quite unsafe if you have a lot of garbage like junk, like dark attachments or anger or something that you're just stuffing way down into the lower part of your body, and you're opening up your third eye. It's not always going to be
mhm.
beautiful entities that are going to come talk to you. There's going to be other entities that will want to work with you. So the best advice that I was given from a teacher is to just sit in meditation and even put your hands on the lower part of your body, like on your navel or even lower, and focus your attention down there. And open your chakras, focus on opening your chakras from the bottom to the top. And that will be the safest way to start to hone your psychic gifts. And if people are really interested in opening their third eye, they want to open up their root chakra, clear it, and open up their heart. The heart is the most powerful center. It's so powerful. If we open up our heart, we can understand pretty much anything. We can communicate
Yeah.
with anybody, with nature, with anything, with aliens, whatever wants to come to us, and then our third eye will naturally open if we do that.
That's awesome. I think that's really important. I think what you said about trying to clear your root chakra and make sure you're starting off at the right place, at the right vibration, because it can be tough, it can be a struggle, but if you do things in the right order and go the right way about it, everything's gonna be, it's gonna be amazing, and everyone's gonna enjoy this next step, this next stage in their enlightenment, I guess. um I'm just wondering if is there anything that people should avoid other than, do you think that avoiding negative people is, or I mean, I don't watch much of the news or things like that, because I mean it tends to be a negative energy you get from it. Um, Even though I can understand it has its place and it's there for a reason, and that's okay. I don't tell people they should or shouldn't do anything. I think there's no right or wrong way to do it. But for the people who are ready to start embarking on this journey, what are the most important things for them to do? I mean, clearing their chakras and getting, you know, what's the process, I guess.
Yeah, I think yeah, I think you're absolutely right about not putting yourself in situations you know are going to harm you or program you with trauma-based mind control, like the news. It's just all drama. They could easily be reporting on all the good things we're doing. They're not, because they want to just feed this fear propaganda machine to keep you enslaved, to keep you in fear, so that you're easily manipulated and controlled. So I would stop watching the news entirely, and I would try to make sure that my body is super, super healthy. Like, people go on the spiritual journey and they're like, oh, I'm a spiritual being, and they want to move out of their body. But the body is the portal for spiritual energy to enter us, for us to experience spirit. And so it's just as sacred, it's just as divine as the immaterial. So I would say, make sure you're eating well, and just eating a lot of green foods, fruits, and healthy fats. Try to stick to saturated fats and like coconuts and avocados, and stay away from trans fats and hydrogenated fats, because our body can't process them. And just eat a balanced diet, and basically eat clean water. Make sure there's no fluoride in your water. You can get toothpaste without fluoride, and just try to minimize your exposure to heavy metals. Like, if you have mercury fillings as well, try to remove those. It's very expensive, but that can be a major effect. That can have a major effect on your brain and like your mood and energy levels and everything. So heal your body, exercise, eat well, and just try to incorporate a spiritual practice into your life, even if it's sitting and breathing for 5 minutes every day, or 10 minutes, because meditation may not seem like it's doing anything, but it does so much. And there are so many scientific benefits you can look up online about what it actually does to enhance certain pathways that are good for you, and then cut off other ones that are toxic. And in my experience, just sitting helps me have a better outlook on life. It helps me take things less personally. I see that other people, when they're doing things that, traditionally people would say are hurting me, I can just go, oh, okay, that's not personal, and they're just hurting. It's not about me. So it just helps, yeah, with everything.
Yep, that's true. That's true. I I guess as far as I get, I don't know how you feel. I guess we talked a little bit about it earlier, um, with mushrooms and different. I don't know if you've ever tried ayahuasca, but for me it was a powerful experience, and I felt um when I was doing the first night we had the ceremony, there was a girl, um two she was two spaces across from me, and she had a really rough night, and she was, dealing with some issues, I guess, that came up. But for me, it was almost like I had this sense of um just this love and joy, and it was almost like this is your baseline, this is how you're supposed to be, this is how you are all the time. And there was not like, I was just trying to send love to this girl because she was having a hard time, and I was just sending all this love across, and I was lying there so happy. I had a big smile, but I had tears pouring down my face, like, but I was just in this state of complete and utter joy. And no matter what happened, you couldn't dent that. You couldn't, like, it was just, it was constant. And I think that everyone, for me, I'm trying to work to feeling that all the time, and not letting, little things like, what somebody said about you, you know, 20 years ago, letting that stuff, it's just baggage that you're carrying around. You have to release everything like that to just leave yourself with um, this emotional peace and happiness and joy that's there all the time. But to get to it, you have to go through all them struggles, and release everything that you're holding on to, and feelings towards people, or um, big organizations that you disagree with their fundamental um, plans, or their fundamental um, I guess their moral um, stance on different things. So once you can get past all that, and once you can and release that, you this love and joy is then free to come out into the world, and create. The creativity comes. I'm sure you know that with your art, and um, you obviously do amazing work, and that creativity flows through you pretty naturally, it would seem. But I think that everyone needs to work towards that. And like you said, there's a lot of different ways you can do it. It's not always easy, but I think that the growth comes from the hard times too. So
Yeah. I think a lot of people hold on to the past, a negative one sometimes, or things that have happened to them. They hold on to animosity towards certain people, for example, because it gives them this false sense of power, and they use it to feed their ego, and they use it as a distraction so they don't have to go, maybe I'm the one in control, maybe I'm the one creating my reality, maybe I'm the one who has to take responsibility and let all this go and choose happiness, choose to empower myself. And I see this with my friends, I see this with, a lot of people I meet. I used to be this way myself too. So,
it's definitely something everyone needs to work on it. I'm working on it, and but I think then the more people you interact with as well, it can be hard. Um, People don't realize when you're going through a change that you're trying to um they sometimes they don't understand it, and they can question it or they can knock it. But for the people that do stick around and that are interested and are willing to listen, then they can really benefit from it, and use that positive energy in their lives, and to it just keeps spreading. I think it's important. It's important for people like you or like me, or anyone who feels compelled to make a change and to raise the vibration of the planet, and get people in line with their higher purpose. I think it's important for us to not let to not let fear or any of these issues hold us back, and to just get your message out there, and don't worry about what other people are going to say, because the important thing is you're going to reach the people who want to hear it and that are ready for the change.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are just afraid to feel their emotions, which is why we distract ourselves with thinking or with food or with the news or whatever. Like, if we just sit with them, though, we realize that we do have the power to just send them love and send them attention, and then the bad emotions dissipate. And for bad memories that seem to haunt us, we can go into those memories and we can do all sorts of different techniques to change them, change how we perceive them, and start viewing them as a good thing rather than as something that is hurt us and is hurting us now. So that's kind of what I'm talking about in the book that I'm going to put out soon, called Fifth Dimensional Healing. It's all about basically showing people that we have the power to create our perception of reality, and that has a powerful effect on our reality.
Yeah, that's awesome. Christina, I was going to ask you on that topic of your books and stuff like that. I would say, do you have any advice for people who want to produce something that's going to help people, and that's going to, I guess it can be met with, whether it's art or a podcast or whatever it is that people want to do. I guess fear you've said is a big thing already, and people don't want to they don't want to face these fears, and they don't want to deal with the issues that come up when they do want to step forward. What would your advice for people who have those fears be?
Yeah, I mean, we all deal with fear. The most successful people have fear. It's never going to go away. It's a part of our human experience. It's just how you deal with the fear determines your success. So if it arises, some people are like, oh, I don't know, I can't do it, I might fail, or people will judge me. But if you want to continue on in the world and grow as a successful person, you sit with it, and then you take action anyway, and you try, and you realize that, it can't really hurt you. It's just there to bring you back into the moment. It's just there as a reminder of the love that you are. And so if people are wanting to put their work out there, they're wanting to put creation out there, I would just say, if you have that desire within you to show something to the world, it's very, very likely that someone out there needs it. Like, someone else needs to hear your message, or you wouldn't have that desire. And if you are having these beautiful ideas, that's basically God giving you those ideas, because that's what the world needs. So if people knock you or people judge you, they're knocking themselves, first of all, and they're also knocking the divine. So it's important to just remember that people who are judging you are just coming from fear, coming from the mind, coming from lack, and they're just children, essentially. So don't take it personally, and just continue on with a strong resolve. If you know that what you're doing is right, people are going to judge you regardless of whether you're doing what you want to do or you're doing something else. So it's much better to just do what you want to do, and remember that the quickest way to success is through failure. So if you think about like your mistakes and basically go, okay, well, maybe they're not failures, maybe they're just helping me and making me better. If you just put yourself out there and make a bunch of mistakes, that's what I did, you're going to get better. So that's, like, mistakes are inevitable. You just laugh it off and you get better.
Absolutely. Christina, your online community, Enter Satori, what sort of things should people expect from that when they join, when they get involved?
Well, it's a social media site, just kind of like Facebook. I just really got sick of the abuse on Facebook and the judgment and like the haters and the ads just constantly bombarding me, and I did not like my information being sold to advertising companies. I was fed up with it. So I created Intercitoria, and basically it's a membership site because there are no ads, so it just helps me to pay for everything. And it's just a sacred space where people can come together and explore their spirituality and step into the highest version of themselves, step into their creativity. in a place where only positive vibes are tolerated. So constructive criticism is okay, but there's no hate speech, there's no abuse. And we have live guests each month. So I usually host what I call a satsang, which is like a lecture. I interview someone, usually people doing amazing things to raise the consciousness of the planet. And I'm starting to introduce Satorian teachers. So other teachers will come and host classes or do interviews and things like that. So I really want it to become a learning hub, like this place where if you're ready to start exploring your spirituality, you want to take your life to the next level, you can do it in the safety of your own home, surrounded by people who are also ready to just say goodbye to fear and just, spread loving, positive vibes.
I think that's great. I think it's really important for us to have more communities like that, and whether it's online or in your own community, for people to have a space where they can go and express how they're feeling, or say I'm struggling with something, and to have rather than have someone say, oh, get over it or whatever, you know what I mean. You need that positive support system, and I think it's great that you've taken the initiative to go and do that, because I got off Facebook for, I would say, 3 or 4 years, and that was the reason, that it's full of all of this negative nonsense that I don't really need
Mm-hmm.
to to be soaking up. I need to have that positive space. I need to have those people around that are not gonna just criticize. Every, like, you'll have people on giving out about the way you spelled something, and it goes on for days, and then it just crazy things like that. It doesn't make sense to me, and there's always someone criticizing, and it's about not necessarily just small things like spelling mistakes, but really important things that are close to people's heart, and they're just being torn apart by random people on Facebook. And I don't think it's definitely not a. I mean, if some people sit on Facebook for hours and then they come off it and they're not in a good mood because
No.
it's just not designed for that. It's not. So I think Enter Satori is an amazing concept, and hopefully more people get involved in it, and this bigger community of positive minded people who are aspiring to follow their higher purpose. I hope that can take off and um, really be a hub for people who are on this journey and who are embarking on the journey also. Christina, it's been an absolute pleasure to speak to you, and hopefully you'll come back and visit again when you have um, more new things on the roll, whether it's more art or um, whether it's something else to do with your community, Enter Satoria, that you want to share and get out there. Is there anything else that you would like to say or put out there before we wrap it up?
Um, uh, no, not really. Like I'm just thankful for the opportunity to be here, and thank you for anybody who's listening. And yeah, just I guess just follow your heart and trust your intuition, because it's so much more powerful than your mind often. And just do what you love, because life is short, and you'll probably look back at this life like it was just like a hike you went on or a dream you had. So just enjoy. That's what I try to do.
Awesome, Christina. Thank you. Um, yeah, that's perfect. I mean, I'm the same. I'm the same way. I'm totally in line with everything you say and do, and I'm a big fan. So I'm gonna keep following you and and trying to live this life to the best of my abilities. Follow the higher purpose and really make a change. So I appreciate you coming on. I really want to thank you and thank your followers who are obviously going to be listening to this also. And I just want to say, um, much love to you, and respect to everything that you do. It's awesome. and I hope that we can speak again soon.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you, Christina. That's great.
Yeah, thanks.
This is Real Connection, and we'll see you next week.